Hi there. Today is Sunday, July 18th, and this is the week 28 Return to Creativity update with your hostess, Jennifer Vanderbeek of scrapsoflife.com. Thank you for joining me. How are you? How's your week been? I've had a little bit of a roller coaster week. I don't know why this is roller coaster. I don't ask me. I don't know. It's early. It's been one of those weeks, folks. The big news is that Sammy the Snaggletooth Sidewinder wants to be a star. An adult coloring book is now available on Amazon. I received my proof copy, of which this is. You can see by the not for resale banner across the front and back. But it's live. It's awesome, I think, and I'm biased, but I'm also my worst critic, so take that for what it is. No, that it's on Amazon. It can be ordered, and now of course I have to sort out the whole marketing thing. Yeah, that's the part that always kind of got me on previous projects and previous ideas, was the promotion side. The thing that saved me with What to Feature Rating Party is that it was super niche, and I could go to the places where the people were and I could tell them about it. But that was that was a really expensive way to sell books, by the way. It was not cost effective at all. At the time, it was okay because I had another full-time job that allowed me both mental time and so forth to be able to do that. But wow, oh wow, was that not a really expensive way to sell books? So even if there were like adult coloring book conventions, yeah, that's not that's not happening this time. Pandemic aside and like social distancing aside, and yeah, because anyway. The coloring book is out. So what else has been going on? Well, after that got released, well, after that was uploaded, and I was waiting for the next pieces to come, to be in place, I did some website work. Scrapsoflife.com is still where it was 2 years ago. Haven't touched that. Well, I'll say that. I did log into the back end and do some updates, but nothing that you would see on the front of the page. Gotta work on that. I'm still deciding what I want to do with that little piece of internet real estate. However, thecraftybranch.com did get updated quite a bit, because it is going to be the home of the vast majority of things that I produce for sale. The coloring book, and everything is going to be done under the Crafty Branch LLC as far as business goes, I think, for the most part. So yeah, that's going to be the sales hub and all. So I did have to do some work on that site, and oh my goodness, things have changed. WordPress has changed how they set up new sites and stuff, and I was like, wow, I thought I knew what I was doing when I hit install, but yeah, I had to kind of take a mental refresher course there for a little bit, and yeah. But it's okay. I mean, learning new things is great. They say when you learn new things, you earn wrinkles on your brain, the little ridges and stuff. And amusingly enough, I made a brain. Yeah. This is not a financially, driven decision. This was a decision to make this little brain. This is not my own pattern. It's a pattern by France Toys. I found it via Ravelry. I am Scraps of Life on Ravelry as well. And I haven't even put up pictures on Ravelry of this finished dude, because I just finished it last night. Basically, I wanted, it's like Tuesday morning, I woke up after having yet another dream about my former workplace. Not a nightmare per se, but a dream that I'd rather not have. And I wanted to have a chat with my brain about what the heck was going on. And so I decided I needed a brain to talk with and, like, give a piece of my mind to. But after going to therapy on Thursday afternoon, I determined that maybe brain just needed a bit of a hug. So anyway, but yeah, I made a brain. And yes, you see it's attached to a sock, and it may well become a sock puppet, and this might become like a TikTok thing. I don't know. That was what I had in mind originally, is that it would make for some interesting TikTok content, but I don't know. Also in Crafty Side, I finished my snood. It actually worked really well for, allowing my hair to dry and retaining the curls without having like a heavy towel, or even like a microfiber towel, or just pinning it up or something. Yeah, that actually worked really well. So I might make another couple of them. It was a fairly easy craft. Again, another pattern found via Ravelry. That one was a free one. The brain one was not. The brain one was a pay, but it also came with a pattern, the version I bought, with heart and lungs. So yeah, I don't know that I'll be doing those, but I figured, might as well have the patterns available. Anyway, moving on. So what else I have been working on, aside from getting websites dusted off and deciding on, projects here and there, is I've been working on the edits for What to Feature Rating Party. Now, those of you who followed me back in the day when Rating Party was new and fresh, that was 9 years ago, guys. 9 years ago. And part of me said, oh, it would be really nice, and it would make sense to hold off re-releasing Rating Party until next June, because then it would be the 10-year anniversary, and it would make so much more sense rather than the 9 years. But I'm like, no, I'm not going to put it off just because 10-year anniversary edition would sound good, because no, we're not. We're not. I have finished multiple edits of the book now. The last run through was strictly for looking for inconsistent use of the Oxford comma. Y'all, I know it's a stylistic choice. It is not a hard and fast grammar rule that you must use the Oxford comma, or the serial comma, as it is also known. It's also known as the Harvard comma, whatever. It's that comma that goes in the chain of A, B, C, and D before the and, or the or whatever. And I found that I was wildly fast and loose with using it or not using it, to the extent that I used it on in one section of a page, and then further down on the page didn't, or vice versa, and that was what was driving me nuts. So I did another full pass of the book just to hunt for missing commas, because I decided that, yeah, I mean, I am in favor of the Oxford comma. I believe it helps more than it hurts, but yeah. So anyway, I hope I found them all. If not, well, nah. I also found a few other things and tweaked other things here and there. There's not like major changes in the book, not new content or anything like that. This second edition is mostly cleaning up what came before and making it available in more formats. So maybe in another week, depending on how long it takes me to redo the cover, because the cover does need to be redone. I don't think I have high-res files for the cover anymore. And it just, one of the things that tripped people up at conventions would be like what to feed. They get stuck on the word your, because the Y was a little too fancy. So I'm gonna streamline the cover a little bit, make it a little easier to read, especially since it's going to also be available as an ebook, and it's going to be on Amazon, and so the picture is going to be small, and when people are scrolling or whatever, and I need it to be a little bit more legible. And I finally came up with a new concept for the cover. And so, yeah, I just have to execute it. So hopefully in the next week to 2 weeks is the timeline, just to, again, depending on how long the cover redesign takes me. In theory, a day, but in practicality, stuff happens. So yeah, hopefully in another week or two, it'll be available to order as a paperback copy via Amazon, which will take some of the fulfillment duties off of my shoulders from the original version, which, I had to be responsible to house, package, and ship, which isn't the worst thing in the world. And I do have a box or two, box and a half-ish. I don't know. I really need to take an actual count of the original versions with the comb binding, the lay flat binding. And I will have those available. The other thing is it's going to be available for less. I'm not going to keep it at the same higher price, the same high price I had it before, that, when I was taking it to conventions and stuff, because economies of scale and so forth. Yeah, so the paperback version, and also as the ebook. The ebook is pretty much going to be just a one-for-one reproduction of the print book, because of the graphics heavy nature of the text. It doesn't really work it would not work as well if I tried to reformat it into, a traditional ebook with, all like the search and the resizing and the this and the that. So yeah, we're just gonna go straight one-to-one, page-to-page kind of thing. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, that's the next thing, and that's what I've been working on. Now, again, for those who have been with the Rating Party project since the beginning, or more towards the end of that 3 years that we did take it to conventions, yes, there was talk of doing a supplement to cover substitutions and allergies and things like that. That was a much bigger project than I anticipated. I thought it would be, of course, ADHD brain says, oh yeah, sure, we can do that, no problem. No concept of time, no concept of what all that would entail to do it responsibly. I think I have a better way to figure it out now. I'm envisioning something like, rather than, my original idea had been to go, and I actually did start to go recipe by recipe, making notes on what substitutions would have to be made for the 8 major allergy or allergens, and then a couple of other things, and I'm like, whoa boy, that's gonna be like, yeah. What I'm thinking now is actually more of a single chart, or I'm thinking of a spreadsheet, to be honest, but it would, show up as a PDF that would be downloadable from the Rating Party website. It'd be all sorted and alphabetized within ingredient category type things. But yeah, of substitutions, a chart of substitutions. And I think that may work the best. I don't know. I haven't started that side of it. And that's going to take me a little while still. But I think that is going to be the most streamlined way to do it, and therefore the most likely to get done way to do it. So that's coming. I'm just not quite sure when, because another project has presented itself to me, one that I am very interested in, and I think it bears some time on the docket. It's a card project, like greeting card project. And it's going to be specifically for some, say, less catered to populations, those in, say, the... Hi, Duncan. Duncan's at my door whining because I won't let him in, and his papa went to the office for a little bit. So if you hear the chirpy bird in the background, that's actually Duncan, the basset hound. He's not allowed in the office because there's way too much clutter and stuff that he could get into, and that's just a recipe for my anxiety and a whole lot of mess. Anyway, so yeah, the card. So underserved populations. So the polyamorous community, maybe some, like the kink community. Yeah, there's some ideas I have floating around in my head, both serious and humorous. Of course, most of them are humorous because that's how I think. But I do have some serious ones in mind too. And stemming from my own experience trying to find greeting cards like birthday cards or anniversary cards, but also even things like cards for family members when it's not all sunshine and rainbows, it's not like realistic cards because, there are limits maybe, but things that you want to say without saying them kind of thing. Yeah, that's something I've been noodling with for a while. It's kind of been an idea in the back of my head, but just recently it became a little bit more important to me, and so I think that's going to be the next design project, is creating some of those. Writing wise, I have 2 novels that have been in draft form. They are book ones of series, and actually it's book 1 of a trilogy, and then book 1 of at least a 22-part series. Could go on for much longer. We shall see. I don't know. But they actually have crossover or intertwining capabilities because similar settings, some overlapping themes. So yeah, those I want to get edited, and that is really my big push, is to start writing more, because I think that is a sustainable career choice, if nothing else, to write prose novels. And these fall under the cozy mystery category, which I personally love to read. It is a genre I adore, especially like just the comfortable, I mean, it's cozy, but just like those novels that you just pick up and you just read through, lickety split. Is that the right? Why does that sound? No, lickety. Yeah, I think that's the right term. But you just breeze through because you love the characters, and the plot moves very fast. I mean, not like super fast that your head's spinning, but the action continues and continues, and you get to know the characters and the world that the writer has built. And then there's a little something. I love the ones that are like witches or ghosts or some other paranormal or supernatural element tied in there, but it's not high fantasy. I love those novels, and I have, I've written a couple. I just haven't gotten them to where other people can read them. And so, yeah, and my twist on it is that it involves tarot. That's the extra little thing. And so those books, I want to have those out, and within the next few months, and so they need polish, they need editing, they need revising, and then they need sequels, which is the most important thing. At least as far as, again, book marketing goes, and series do well. And I love the series because I love to get into that world and be able to continue on with the characters. And so my hope is that I can do that as well. Let's see, what else? I mentioned therapy. Therapy went well this week. It was a hard session because, again, I had to unpack that whole leaving my old job, which we talked about beforehand, and I knew that we had focused on the positives of doing making this kind of move and the things to be aware of, but there's baggage there, so we're working on that. And it really was helpful to go this week and this past week. And also, I've been reading a lot. Something that I have not been able to do a lot is focus on reading other books the way I used to. I've I've read multiple books in the last couple of weeks. And I'm not talking about just like the cozy mysteries that I can rip through in a couple of hours. I'm talking book club books because, yeah, I'm going to start going back to book club meetings as part of my like social interaction, the necessary social interaction. And I'm going to hope those go well, especially now that, I worried that, well, once I found out that I had ADHD and how that manifests in me, what that means for me in social situations and things like that. Oh boy, book club was like the best worst situation for someone with ADHD and impulse control and was not aware. Oh my gosh. Oh, hyper focus on the topic. Yeah, interrupting people, which I really tried not to do, but it was so tough sometimes when you get in that conversation mode. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So now that I've learned what I've learned, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I've read book club books. I even read a business book. Show and tell here. This is Business for Bohemians. I'd actually picked it up probably a year and a half ago from the local bookstore because I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly, boho or anything like that, but I thought it might be a useful kind of look at business from a non-corporate point of view, and it is. Is it the perfect business book? Oh gosh, no. No. No, not a chance. No, there are some maybe potentially problematic areas. Towards the end, it was a little bit more ableist and such, but you take what the author has given you from their perspective, and you take what works and you leave the rest, acknowledging the potentially problematic parts, because everything has something that's potentially problematic. We can't, it's hard to avoid, especially in items that have been written, older. The older a piece is, the more problematic it's likely to be as we learn more about being inclusive. And I'm not talking about this book in specific, I'm just talking about in general, as we learn more about, marginalized communities and how all of that gets to the point where we're at now. I think I think most of us try to be decent human beings, admirable, and we try to be respectful. But there's so much in society that we find is like, oh, geez, wow, yeah, I didn't realize how this word that we grew up saying or this phrase that we grew up using regionally or whatever, it was like, oh, wow, that really makes some people uncomfortable. And, maybe we can not, and so when you read books that are a few years old, or a few decades old or a century old, you're going to run into more and more things like that. And we, as evolving human beings living in the world we live in, wanting to be respectful to the human beings around us and not hurt people, not go out of our way to hurt people. I mean, that's That's my take on it. It is, we don't want to go out of our way to hurt people. And so when we find out that something is hurtful or harmful or exclusionary or marginalizing, we're like, okay, all right, let me step back and let me, figure this out and, figure out a way that I can not do that out of respect, out of respect. Out of respect and compassion towards fellow humans. So yeah, when it's interesting to read things now and say, oh, ooh, yeah, that could have been done differently, but also in the lens of, okay, well, I can see where they're coming from. I'm going to also choose to look at it as they didn't intend to exclude somebody unless, well, I mean, there are times when people do, and that's a much bigger conversation, and I didn't mean to get into such a charged issue, but hey, this is what happens when I speak off the cuff to my camera alone, and it reflects the thoughts I have on certain things, and yeah, so that was something that did spark as I got to the end of that business book. And I'm like, okay, it's not, is it horrible? Is it horrific? No, gosh, no. But there were a couple of things that I was like, okay. So we leave those. We take the useful elements and we apply those the best we can. That was all I was trying to say. Oh, geez. Move on. Oh, boy. Yeah, let's see. Can we reel this back in to close out the video? So yeah, it's Sunday. I originally thought I was going to go back to making these videos on Saturdays. I don't know. My schedule is flexible, which is great, but I still need a schedule. I still need that that consistency. So I'm trying to make my schedule work for me as best I can. And like yesterday, usually I would have done meal preps, but I decided, no, Saturday is going to be, we'll do relaxing day, and then maybe Sunday we will do the meal preps and stuff. So that's what I'm about to go do right now. So I just wanted to get this video recorded before I get all gross and sweaty from being in the kitchen for 4 hours, which, don't get me wrong, I love being in the kitchen for 4 hours. And oh, that was the other thing I wanted to mention, going back to Rating Party. So one of the things that I realized while editing Rating Party and reading through it a handful more times is how many things in that book that I haven't made in a while. We're talking way more than a hot minute. And so when I was making the menu for this coming week and deciding what I was going to meal prep and deciding my freezer preps and stuff, yeah, I'm like, oh, that would work, that would work. So most of the things I'm cooking this week come from or were inspired by some of the items in my own cookbook. Just goes to show, look at what you've done in the past. There might actually be some nuggets you can mine. So yeah, let's end on that. Let's end on that. Wow. Okay, so I hope your week has been pleasant. I know for a lot of people it hasn't. There's just something going around, I think. There's a lot of stress out there. We all feel it. Even me, as I've stepped away from some of the more stressful elements of my life, I still feel it. And so I hope that yours was better than it could have been. And if it wasn't, then I hope the week ahead shows some promise. I hope you're all happy and healthy. And if not, you're working towards being. Because we have one life. We have, as you know, I would love to believe we get more chances than the one, but as far as we know for sure, we get this one chance. So let's do with it the best we can. Thank you for joining me here for another Return to Creativity Weekly Update. I wish you well, and I will see you in another week. Bye-bye.